everybody, it's Wallguy. The Battlefield 4 beta released in the early morning hours of October 1st for all early access players, and many of us have had a chance to play it, but others may be waiting for the open beta or the game's final launch. If you are a PC player, you may be concerned that perhaps you might not have the hardware to run the game. Well, I am here to tell you that the game scales down pretty well for those of you that don't have, top-end hardware. Yes, players with stronger hardware will obviously enjoy much more eye candy, but the game does look pretty solid at all the graphics presets, even at low. So if you're one of those people that are straddling that line of minimum specs that are suggested for this game, fear not, the game does really run well at all graphics settings. It doesn't become worthless if you have to run it at lower settings. The core gameplay experience is still intact, the game still looks pretty solid. For everybody else in between, those with average gaming PCs or those all the way up to the beast gaming rigs, the game is pretty nice looking. The beta does run on a 2 to 3 month old unoptimized build, however, so there are still graphical glitches and periodic frame drop issues, which run the gamut of really bad to slightly annoying. But things should run more consistent in the final build, I'm thinking. Without further ado, I'm going to show you all presets of the game now so you can see the difference in graphic fidelity for yourself. You've been watching some Ultra footage up to this point to give you a feel for what the game looks like at maximum settings. Now let's see what things look like at high. Here it is, moving down to the high preset. If you look around, things still look pretty darn good. If anything, I'd say that every category is just a little bit muted compared to Ultra. It doesn't pop quite as much. Reflections are a little bit less detailed. The textures a little bit less sharp. The lighting a little bit less vibrant. But all in all, looks pretty good if you have to play it high. I don't think you'll be too upset. They do make a complete image quality concession as far as deferred anti-aliasing goes. No 4x MSAA. They go solidly with the post-processing anti-aliasing. But it just looks a little bit softer. It doesn't look absolutely terrible. If you have to go with it, not too bad. Dropping down now to the medium preset, it's a pretty big jump. It was just a little jump from Ultra to high, but I feel like from high to medium, there's a very big drop off. Once again, you get much more a muted effect of all the various effects in the game. The reflections are much worse. I think the amount of geometry going on is a lot less. You'll see more of that later. The backgrounds are kind of less animated, I think. And also, you drop down from HBAO, ambient occlusion, to SSAO. And now dropping down to the low preset, you lose ambient occlusion altogether, as well as all anti-aliasing. There's no deferred, there's no post-processing anti-aliasing, so those jaggies will creep up. But this doesn't look way below the medium preset. It is still fairly nice looking. This is the lowest graphical settings for Battlefield 4. And if you look at the minimum specs for the game, they're not terribly demanding. You probably have a powerful enough computer if you've been gaming on PC for a number of years, so you'll be able to play it. It'll look this good, which is not too bad. You might have noticed that the textures on the face of the skyscraper are not loaded in. That's kind of a graphical glitch of the beta. I'm sure that'll be fixed for the final build. But now we're going to move on to some individual comparisons. You see the plumes of smoke coming out of those fires. This is the Ultra preset again. And we're going to compare this across all the presets again so you can see how some of the effects go a little bit dead as you move down. Now, these look like they're a little bit less resolution on the smoke textures on high. And then you come to medium and you see that big drop off I was talking about. The plumes of smoke are almost completely gone. They're barely coming out of that fire. Low preset is very similar to medium, maybe a little bit worse off. I feel this highlights pretty well the differences in particle complexity across the presets. Now we're back on Ultra on top of the skyscraper looking at a panoramic view of the city. You can see the geometry complexity, the animation in the backgrounds going on, just the general awesomeness of it all. And as you go down to high, you got that slight muting effect again. Things aren't quite as awesome looking, but still looking very nice indeed. And when you get down here to medium, you see a significant loss in geometry, texture detail goes down, animation in the backgrounds is very evident in its difference. It's much less lively. And the low preset looks much the same, a little bit worse than medium, I'd say. But in general, not so bad for the lowest graphical settings of Battlefield 4, I'd say. Now heading back to Ultra, I figured I'd jump out of the skyscraper because it's fun, but also it does a good job of showing at what distances a detail is drawn in and at what level of detail. On Ultra, it's pretty far out, it's pretty nice looking. On High, it's a little bit less, a little bit muted, as usual, but still very nice looking. Detail is strong out to good distances, and you come in and everything's pretty. On Medium, you've got that less geometry, you've got more visible pop-in, I guess, graphically, more evident there. And then you drop down to Low, and the pop-in especially is much worse here. The detail comes in as you get a lot closer. This is one of the biggest differences between Low and Medium, I'd say. But all in all, once again, for the lowest graphical settings in Battlefield 4, not so bad. And hey, what Battlefield 4 video would be complete without watching the skyscraper go down in Ultra? Here it is, watch it go. Nice little details on the smoke, starts to tilt, the glass is starting to break. You see all those reflections, and pretty soon everything is gonna come apart. And pay attention to the detail in the smoke as it comes apart, and the geometry of the skyscraper, the effects that come up in the water as it hits, and then what you have there. And there is some flickering in the graphics there. That's probably something that needs to be fixed too before release on Ultra. On High, that doesn't seem to be present. Let's watch this on High. Also, once again, looks pretty darn nice. And here it comes. Most of the effects are intact, just a little bit lesser. Down it comes. Same effects in the water. Drop down to Medium though, and you see quite a bit of a difference in that geometry again. But beyond that, the levolution event still looks pretty spectacular. That skyscraper coming down has most of the effects intact, if not at lower resolutions or slightly lower particle numbers. The skyscraper itself is rendered at less polygons, but it is coming down and it still looks amazing. Look at that. And you have similar water effects again. So not too bad. You do see a pretty big difference when you come down to Low right here. Of course, you see the textures on the face of the skyscraper are missing again. You still get most of the effects, except it doesn't look like we're seeing the glass dropping from the building yet. Smoke was there. Geometry is less. You got glass breaking out of there now. Not so bad, but the water effects are not as pronounced. That does it for this graphics preset comparison. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out our Battlefield 4 playlist.